You may remember, back in the summer, fresh out of lockdown, I took a member's stunning viola purple Lamborghini Diablo SV for a spin and raved about how great the 90s were. I've always raved about cars from that decade, back when we had manual gearboxes and things that were more basic, placing the responsibility on the driver rather than the computers. And in terms of Lamborghini, before they became a bit, well, Audi.
Or rather, they didn't. The Murcielago was released in 2001, and as you can see, it retained this stick that we used to change gear with. It also preserved some of the interesting build quality that you found in the Diablo. However, the Germans must have had some influences because everything works really rather well. What a noise! Even though Lamborghini had been owned by Audi for 3 years by the time this was released, it seems like the Germans went over to Italy and said, right lads, this is how we're going to do things from now on. And in typical Italian fashion, they didn't take a blind bit of notice. There's just no dip in the power through the entire torque band, right from about 2,000 revs. You've got all that torque which just turns into raw power right up to about 7,800. But by then, even in first gear, you'll be breaking the law. They did manage to improve the driving position, whereas the Diablo steering wheel was literally on your knees. You can actually turn without wearing a hole in your jeans. And the pedal setup is perfect. It's just relentless power. It's not harsh in any way. It's good. I mean, it's really, really good for an old car. And this one doesn't get the same sort of treatment as the Diablo that I drove last summer. Rather than being garaged, this is just stored outside and it's used on a regular basis. The owners said there's just one thing that you must do when you get in it, and that is turn the traction control off because it apparently ruins it. And he's right. I'll just put that back on, go to accelerate in second hand. It's flashing, it's flashing. There's no reason for it to flash. I'm not anywhere near losing traction because if I then turn it off, same thing again. It's fine. You've got four-wheel drive, there's tons and tons of grip. It'll take a hell of a lot to actually step this thing out. The gearbox and clutch are surprisingly light. The owner uses this pretty much every day, and I can see why. Apart from getting in and out of it, which is far from elegant, it's really easy to drive. It's safe, you can use it in all weathers with a four-wheel drive system, but you get that character that you just don't get with these newer cars. And having this manual, it makes such a gorgeous noise when you click through the gate. It's like that. I miss that on cars these days. It feels manly. I'm driving a V12 Lamborghini with a nice manual manly gearbox. It's giving me the shivers on the back of my neck. Just from working this gearbox, blipping it up and down. Oh, and the overrun. That's the first time I've heard that. Oh. We've got a rattle at at the front. I don't know what it is, but I do know what it is. It's Lamborghini build quality from the early noughties. That's just what it is. That's what you get. Does it bother me? No, it doesn't. Because it's just part of the character of a Lamborghini. I could drive this every day. I really would. I can see why he uses it so much. It's sort of a shame that he leaves it outside, but if you've not got a garage, what else are you going to do? I mean, the owners kept this car quite standard as well. The only difference is it's got the Fab Speed 2-cell cats, because the last ones were knackered, basically. So they needed replacing, and it just opens that noise up a bit more. Just any revs and it goes. But it grips as well. What are we playing at these days? I mean, what are all these computers about? If this could do it 20 years ago, like it's doing it today, we don't need this extra power. This is plenty. Love this. Absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. And yeah, maybe using it every day is not the bestest of ideas. It is more of a toy, let's face it. It is pretty huge. You won't fit it in many car parking spaces. There's no rear visibility. But it is one of them cars that you could easily just fall in love with. It's not even got a Ferrari badge. And I still love it.
This supercar put a humongous grin on my face, which, let's face it, that's the prime reason we give insane amounts of money to buy and run these cars. Having already set the owner back over 30 grand in work restoring the underside of the car, amongst other big bills that come with a Murcielago. And even after that, this example isn't perfect to look at, but to drive, it's bang on. It's as though Lambo got the supercar recipe just right with this one. V12, mid-engined, manual with silly doors and outrageous styling. The power was just right and the grip feels very mechanical. What more could you possibly want from a supercar?